Dad, this year we're celebrating Thanksgiving with just our family. You are not invited. That's how the betrayal started, and I definitely did not deserve it. And when his wife added that I still hadn't earned a place at their table, I replied with just one thing: I'll cancel all automatic payments. 1 hour later, 95 missed calls. And then something happened that turned everything upside down. Before we continue, please subscribe and tell us where you are listening from in the comments. The message arrived at 3:47 on a Wednesday afternoon, 2 days before Thanksgiving. I was reviewing a client portfolio when my phone buzzed against the mahogany desk. I looked down, expecting a confirmation about Thursday's dinner plans. Maybe Leo asking what time I'd arrive or what I wanted to bring. Instead, I read, "Dad, this year we're celebrating Thanksgiving with immediate family only. You're not invited." I stared at the screen. Read it again. The words did not rearrange themselves into something that made sense. My reading glasses slipped down my nose as I leaned closer, as if being closer would somehow change the meaning. Immediate family only. I was his father. How much more immediate could I be? Before I could process it, another message dropped into the family chat. Bernice's name appeared with that little typing indicator. Then her words appeared like a slap. "Maybe someday you'll earn the right to sit at a table with us." Dwit. Not yet. My chest tightened. I set the phone down carefully, the way you'd set down something fragile that might break if handled roughly. Except I wasn't the fragile one here. I was the one who had been holding everything together for 8 years since my wife died and left me drowning in guilt, trying to prove to my son that I could still be the father he deserved, even though his mother was gone. I picked up the phone again, scrolled up through the chat history, found the thread from 3 months ago where Leo had asked if I could cover the mortgage for just a few months while he switched to a new position, found Bernice's message from last spring about the private school tuition, how it was an investment in their children's future, and wasn't I invested in my grandchildren's future. I found my own replies, each one a version of course, and already sent, and anything you need. My fingers moved almost by themselves. Opening my banking app, I went to the recurring payment section and just looked at the list. Really looked at it, maybe for the first time since I'd put everything on autopilot. Mortgage payment, car lease for Leo, car lease for Bernice, private school tuition for both kids, their homeowner's insurance, their utilities, their premium cable package, Bernice's credit card autopay, because she had convinced me that her business expenses were really investments in Leo's future networking opportunities. I muttered the total to myself, letting each word hang in the empty office. $8,550 every single month. Outside my office, footsteps approached. Martin from the suite next door paused in my doorway, already wearing his coat. His voice was cheerful, clueless. "Dwit, you heading out soon? Happy Thanksgiving." I looked up and put on my professional mask. "You too, Martin. Drive safe." He waved and disappeared down the hallway. I heard the elevator chime, then silence settled back over the floor. Most of the building had already emptied out for the long weekend. I was alone with my phone, my computer screen, and a clear feeling I hadn't had in years. I read Bernice's message one more time. "Maybe someday you'll earn the right," as if I hadn't earned anything. As if $8,000 a month was just expected, just assumed, just the price I paid for the privilege of sometimes seeing my grandchildren at whatever events Bernice decided were appropriate for me to attend. The screen blurred a little. I took off my glasses and set them beside the keyboard. Without them, the numbers on my banking app became soft and fuzzy. But I didn't need perfect vision to understand what I was seeing. I had been staring at this reality for years without actually seeing it. I thought about calling Leo directly, demanding an explanation, asking what I had done to deserve this rejection, but I already knew the answer. Nothing. I had done nothing except make myself necessary and invisible at the same time. I was a checking account with a heartbeat, valuable only for what I could provide. and easy to throw away the moment I expected something as unreasonable as a seat at the Thanksgiving table. My thumb hovered over the banking app. The office was very quiet. Through the window, I could see the sun starting to drop toward the McDowell Mountains, painting the Scottsdale sky in shades of copper and amber. Beautiful, uncaring. The city would keep moving whether I spent tomorrow alone or surrounded by family who only tolerated me because of my wallet. I pulled up the family chat one more time, read both messages again, then slowly scrolled through the payment list on my banking app. Each entry was a choice I had made. Payment for not being there enough when their mother was sick. For working too many hours when Leo was young. For every failure I thought I could fix with money. Because money was something I understood, something I could control. I stared at that list until the numbers burned into my vision. My voice came out quieter than I expected, swallowed right away by the leather chair and empty walls. You want immediate family only? Let's see how immediate your bills feel. My thumbs moved across the phone screen with a steadiness that surprised me. The message I typed into the family chat was short, with nothing that suggested we were negotiating. Thanks for letting me know. Canceling all automatic payments today. Have a nice holiday. I read it twice. Changed nothing. Hit send. The little check marks appeared, showing it was delivered. I watched them turn blue. Read receipts. Both Leo and Bernice had seen it. I didn't wait for a response. The exit group option appeared when I pressed on the chat name, and I tapped it without hesitation. A small confirmation box asked if I was sure. I selected yes. The chat vanished from my screen. I opened my laptop next to the phone, setting both devices so I could work on both. My banking app on mobile, financial institution websites on the bigger screen. I had set up these payments carefully over the years. Felt right to take them apart the same way. First, the mortgage, $3,200, scheduled to withdraw on the 1st of every month. I logged into my main bank's website, found the recurring payments section. The entry sat there with its neat active status in green. My cursor hovered over cancel scheduled payment for maybe 3 seconds. Then I clicked. A confirmation box appeared. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment? The recipient will not be notified automatically. I clicked confirm. The status changed from green to gray. Canceled. I muttered to the empty office. $3,200. Not anymore. Next came the car leases. Leo's first. A luxury sedan he insisted he needed for client meetings, even though his sales job had him working mostly from home. For $89 a month, canceled. Then Bernice's SUV, the one she defended by saying she needed safe, reliable transportation for the grandchildren. $512, canceled. As I clicked through each one, I spoke softly, repeating Bernice's words back to the empty room. Maybe someday you'll earn the right to drive these cars. Not yet. The private school tuition was next. $2,200 split between 2 kids, paid quarterly but averaged into my monthly total. That one meant logging into a separate education payment portal, more clicks, more confirmation boxes asking if I was sure. I was sure. Homeowners insurance, utilities, the premium cable package that cost more than my own. Each cancellation took between 2 and 4 minutes. Login credentials, security questions, digging through menus designed to make canceling hard. I worked through them with the patience of someone who had spent 40 years in financial consulting, someone who understood that careful work takes time. Somewhere during the utility cancellation, my phone started vibrating. Leo's name flashed across the screen, his photo taken 3 Thanksgivings ago when he was still smiling at me, showing with the incoming call. I glanced at it, reached over without looking straight at the screen, and flipped the phone face down. The vibration continued for 30 seconds, then stopped. The silence lasted maybe 2 minutes before it started again. Same name, same photo. I kept my eyes on the laptop screen, clicking through to cancel the cable package autopay. By the time I finished with Bernice's credit card, the last item on my list, the one that had been quietly collecting her business expenses at an average of $900 a month, my phone had gone through several cycles of vibrating, stopping, and vibrating again. I closed the laptop with a quiet click that sounded loud in the silent office. The time on my computer screen read 7:52 p.m. I had been working for just over an hour. Outside the window, downtown Scottsdale had changed into its evening self. Restaurant patios filling up. Strings of lights shining on the sidewalks. People starting their holiday celebrations early. I gathered my things slowly. Laptop into my messenger bag. Phone picked up and slipped into my pocket, still face down, still buzzing off and on. Coat from the hook behind the door. I locked my office and walked to the elevator. Rode it down to the parking garage. Got into my car. The whole time, my phone kept buzzing against my thigh like an angry bug trapped in cloth. The drive to my apartment took 20 minutes through moderate traffic. I lived in a newer complex near Old Town, a 2-bedroom unit that had felt too big when I first moved in after selling the family house, but now felt exactly right for one person who didn't need to fit anyone else's expectations. Inside, I set my bag on the entry table and finally pulled out my phone. The lock screen was a mess of notifications. 95 missed calls. The message app showed 43 unread texts. I scrolled through the call log. Leo, Bernit, Bernit. Unknown number, probably Celeste, warned about the crisis and trying to mediate. Leo. I turned off the ringer completely, turned off vibration, and set the phone face up on my desk, where I could watch the screen light up silently with each new try. In the kitchen, I pulled down a bottle of bourbon from the cabinet, a bottle I had been saving for a special occasion that never happened. A crystal glass from the set I never used because there was no one to use it with. 2 fingers of amber liquid catching the light above the sink. I carried the glass to my living room window and left the apartment lights off. The city spread out before me in layers of light. Street lights, building windows, the red and white streams of traffic on Scottsdale Road. My phone screen glowed on the desk behind me. Another silent call coming in. I didn't turn around. The bourbon was smooth, expensive. I took a slow sip and let it warm its way down. My voice came out quiet in the darkness. 8 years. 8 years of trying to make up for her being gone. They never appreciated a single day. The phone screen went dark, stayed dark for maybe 90 seconds, then lit up again. Another call, another attempt to reach the man who had just cut off their money. I imagined Leo's panic as he checked his bank notifications, saw the canceled payments, understood what it meant. I imagined Bernice's fury, her math about bills coming due, her realization that her insults had cost her more than she expected. I took another sip and watched the city. Behind me, my phone kept flashing silently. Tomorrow was Thanksgiving. I'd spend it however I wanted. Maybe I'd cook something simple. Or maybe I'd go out, find a restaurant serving dinner, sit at a table with strangers who owed me nothing and expected nothing back. The bourbon glass was half empty now or half full, depending on how you looked at it. I guess that was the difference. I was finally looking at things from a new angle. Not through guilt or obligation or desperate attempts to fix the past, just seeing what was actually there. The phone lit up again behind me. I didn't turn around. The city lights were much more interesting. I woke Thursday morning to silence. No buzzing phone, no emergency knocks, no crisis demanding my attention. Just pale November sunlight coming through my bedroom blinds and the distant hum of Scottsdale Road traffic. Most of the city was preparing Thanksgiving dinners. I made coffee. My dining table became a workspace. Laptop open, legal pad to the right, pen placed parallel to the pad's edge. Habits from 40 years of client meetings. I pulled up the folder on my computer labeled property documents and started clicking through files I hadn't reviewed in years. The North Scottsdale house purchase agreement opened first. I scrolled to the ownership section and highlighted the key part with my cursor. Sole owner, DeWitt Marcus Willis. No cosigner listed, no rental agreement attached. I had bought it 6 years ago as what I called an investment property, a place where Leo and Bernice could get started while I covered the costs. The word temporary had been used a lot in those early conversations. Temporary had somehow become permanent. I took notes on my legal pad, my handwriting neat even with the slight shake in my fingers that had developed over the past year. Property purchased January 2018. Total price $485,000. Mortgage paid in full 2021. Title my name only. The vehicle leases came next. Both contracts opened in separate windows on my screen. Toyota Highlander for Bernice leased March 2022. Lexus ES 350 for Leo leased August 2023. I read the fine print I had barely looked at when signing. Primary leaseholder, DeWitt M. Willis. Authorized driver, Leo Clayton Willis. The second vehicle didn't even list Bernice. She had been driving it only because Leo allowed it. I muttered to the empty apartment. Sole owner, no cosigner, no rental agreement. It's cleaner than I remembered. My coffee had gone cold. I didn't bother warming it. Friday afternoon, I sat in the same chair, laptop open to a different kind of research. Property attorneys in Scottsdale. I read reviews, checked credentials, compared bar association listings, and chose no personal connections. I wanted someone who had never met my family, someone who would treat this as pure business. Oscar Chen's name appeared on 3 separate recommendation lists. Property disputes, contract law, 15 years of practice. His office was in Old Town, walking distance from the weekend art galleries Judith used to drag me to before she got sick. I filled out his online consultation form, chose the first available appointment. Monday, December 2nd, 10 o'clock. Click Submit. The confirmation email arrived 30 seconds later. Saturday morning, I was in my bedroom reading when my phone pinged with a doorbell camera alert. I opened the app and watched Leo and Bernice appear on my screen, standing in the hallway outside my door. Leo raised his hand to knock, the motion unsure, almost sorry. Bernice stood behind him with her arms crossed, her mouth moving like she was giving instructions. I turned up the audio. Leo's knuckles hit the door. 3 soft knocks. Nothing that would bother the neighbors. Bernice's voice came through small but clear. Harder. He's probably just ignoring us. Leo tried again, a little louder. I watched from my armchair. Phone screen balanced on my knee as my son acted out this pretend show of making up. Bernice stepped forward, her face twisting with anger. DeWitt, open this door. You can't just abandon your family like this. Her fist hit the door with real force. Leo's shoulders curled in. He reached out and touched her arm. Maybe we should just go. She shook him off, pounded again, shouted my name 3 more times, each time sharper than the last. I watched her face turn red on the grainy camera, watched Leo glance nervously toward the elevator, watched them stand there for almost 10 minutes before Bernice finally grabbed Leo's elbow and yanked him down the hallway. They disappeared from the frame. I heard the elevator chime through my walls, set my phone down, and went back to my book. Sunday evening, I was at my dining table sorting documents into folders when Celeste called. I stared at her name on the screen for several rings before answering. DeWitt, please. They're desperate. Her voice shook. Real distress, not manipulation. At least at first. The children need their grandfather. Don't destroy this family over one mistake. I kept my voice steady. I'm not destroying anything, Celeste. I'm simply choosing not to fund people who treat me with contempt. But they apologized.
No.
Bernice told me I hadn't earned the right to sit at a table with my own family. Leo agreed by staying silent. That's not a mistake. That's a statement of how they see me. She changed tactics. I could hear it in her breathing, the small pause before the next sentence. How can you be so cruel? Your wife would be ashamed of you right now. Something cold settled in my chest. My wife would want me to keep my dignity. Goodbye, Celeste. I ended the call, set the phone face up on the table, and watched it light up twice more with her attempts to call back. I didn't answer. The apartment felt especially quiet after that. I organized the last folder, snapped it shut, stacked it with the others, stood at my window, and looked out at Sunday evening traffic. Restaurants with patio heaters glowing orange, couples walking dogs, the normal rhythms of people who weren't spending their holiday weekend listing all the ways their family had failed them. I spoke to the empty room. Everyone thinks money equals love. Nobody asks what love without respect is worth. My reflection in the window looked older than 62. Tired, but not broken. There was a difference between being exhausted and giving up, and I had spent too many years confusing the two. Monday morning would come, the attorney would review my documents, and we would begin the real work of taking apart what I had built. The notification light on my phone blinked steadily. More messages I wouldn't read tonight. Outside, the city continued its weekend flow, unaware of the small family war happening in voicemails and doorbell camera footage. I left the window, made a simple dinner, and sat at the table where my laptop and legal pad waited for tomorrow's next phase. The silence wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was clarifying. Monday morning arrived with the kind of clarity that comes after a decision becomes permanent. I showered, dressed in charcoal slacks and a pressed button-down, business casual, the uniform of a man who still went to an office every day and knew the difference between casual and careless. I gathered my documents into the leather portfolio I had received as a retirement gift from my first firm back when retirement felt like something that happened to other people. I drove from my apartment to Old Town Scottsdale, parked in the public lot near the art galleries, and walked 3 blocks through cool December air to Oscar Chen's office building. A modest 2-story adobe structure with desert landscaping that somehow looked both professional and low-key. I pushed through the glass door at exactly 10 o'clock. The receptionist sent me to a conference room where Oscar waited. He was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with black-framed glasses and a firm handshake that showed confidence, not aggression. "Mr. Willis, please have a seat." I took the chair across from his desk, set my portfolio on my lap, and unzipped it with careful calm. Oscar sat in his chair, legal pad in front of him, pen already uncapped. "I've reviewed the basic facts from your consultation form," he said, "but I'd like to see the actual documents. Let's start with the house deed." I pulled it from the portfolio and slid it across the desk. He studied it with the kind of focus I recognized from my own work. Someone who knew which details mattered. He made a few notes and looked up. "The vehicle leases, please." I handed those over. He spread everything across his desk like a poker hand. Papers fanned out so he could see them all at once. He spent nearly 20 minutes reading, cross-referencing, and sometimes glancing at the bank statements I had included, showing 8 years of payment history. When he finally leaned back, his expression stayed the same. Professional neutrality, the kind that makes good attorneys valuable. "Mr. Willis, legally speaking, your position couldn't be stronger. They have no written lease, no proof of payment, no claim to the property. Arizona law is very clear on this." I kept my voice calm. "How long will the eviction process take?" 30 to 60 days if they cooperate. If they fight it, maybe 90, but they won't win. They'll just delay. And the vehicles, you can end those leases tomorrow if you want. They're in your name. The leasing company will retrieve them. He explained his plan with the same careful step-by-step method I used when reviewing documents. We would send a formal eviction notice first. 30 days to leave. Document everything they did in response. Every call, every text, every time they showed up at my door. If they claimed I had verbally agreed to let them stay forever, we would have a paper trail proving otherwise. When can you send the notice? I asked. I can have it drafted by Wednesday. Courier delivery to their address by Thursday at the latest. He quoted his retainer, $5,000. I didn't hesitate. I pulled my checkbook from the inner pocket of the portfolio, wrote the check with practiced strokes. 40 years of signing checks had made the motion automatic. Tore it free and slid it across the desk. Oscar glanced at it, then held out his hand again. I'll be in touch by Wednesday with the draft for your review. I shook his hand, gathered my documents, and left his office feeling like I had just finished any other professional transaction. Because that was exactly what this was. Back at my apartment that evening, I returned to my normal routine. Dinner, news, the stack of client files I had brought home. Around 9 o'clock, I opened my laptop to check email and saw Leo's name in my inbox. Subject line, Dad, please. I opened it. Read 3 paragraphs of apology mixed with excuses. Bernice had pushed too hard. He should have stopped her. He never wanted to hurt me. Could we please just sit down and talk? He knew he had messed up. I read it twice, thought about the careful wording, how it made Leo sound like Bernice's victim instead of a willing part of excluding me. The request to talk that carefully avoided admitting years of taking without gratitude. I muttered at my screen, 8 years too late for that conversation. I moved my cursor to the archive button and clicked once. The email vanished from my inbox. Wednesday passed quietly. Thursday afternoon, I was at my office reviewing a portfolio allocation when my desk phone buzzed. Building security. Mr. Willis, there's a man in the lobby claiming to be your son, requesting to see you. He's becoming disruptive. I looked at my computer monitor, switched to the building security camera system, a feature available to senior staff for situations like this. I selected the lobby camera. Leo appeared on the screen, pacing near the elevators. His motions were sharp, upset. The security guard stood between him and the elevators, professional but firm. Should we call the police? The guard asked on the phone. I watched Leo throw his hands up, watched his mouth move like he was shouting, watched him point at the elevators, at the guard, back at the elevators. His desperation was clear even through the grainy video. No, I said. Just escort him out. Don't let him come back. I stayed on the camera feed after hanging up. I watched 2 guards approach Leo. I watched him argue, his shoulders curling in the same way they had outside my apartment door. I watched him finally turn toward the exit, with security on both sides, his whole body showing defeated anger. The lobby went back to normal. People coming and going, walking to the elevators, no drama. I switched back to my portfolio spreadsheet and spoke softly to my empty office. You wanted to keep me out of the table, Leo. Welcome to the same feeling. My phone showed no new messages. The workday continued like normal. Outside my window, downtown Scottsdale moved through its Thursday afternoon patterns. Lunch crowds thinning out, afternoon meetings starting, the city unaware of small family disasters. I returned my focus to the numbers on my screen. Asset allocation, risk assessment, the comfortable language of a job that made sense, where value could be measured and consequences predicted. Not like family, where 8 years of payments and gifts somehow earned you nothing but contempt and being left out of Thanksgiving. The office was quiet, professional, mine. I closed the portfolio file and opened the next one. Monday morning arrived with the weight of something you can't stop. I was at my desk reviewing a client's portfolio, rebalancing, when my phone chimed. A text from Oscar Chin. Notice delivered. Signed for at 10:47 a.m. 30-day clock starts today. I read it twice, took a screenshot and saved it to the folder I had made just for this process. Legal documentation. December 2024. Then I went back to the spreadsheet. The portfolio needed attention. Mrs. Henderson was 73 and cautious. Her allocation had drifted too heavily into stocks. I made notes about moving 15 into municipal bonds. My office phone rang 40 minutes later. Leo's number showed on the caller ID. I picked up, expecting his voice. Instead, Bernice exploded through the speaker. "You can't do this. This is illegal. We have rights. You're a cruel old man and we'll sue you for everything." Her words piled on top of each other, anger and panic mixing into something sharp. I held the phone a little away from my ear and waited for her to stop to breathe. When she finally did, I spoke calmly. "Everything is legal. Talk to your attorney." I pressed the red button. The line went dead. I opened my contacts, found her number, and tapped block. A small box asked if I was sure. I confirmed. Her number disappeared from my available contacts. The rest of Monday passed without trouble. Client calls, portfolio reviews, a lunch meeting with a possible client who was combining his retirement accounts. Normal work, the kind that had supported me for 4 decades. Numbers made sense. Risk could be measured. Consequences followed predictable patterns. Tuesday and Wednesday continued the same way. I didn't hear from Leo or Bernice. They were probably talking to their own lawyer, learning what Oscar had already told me. Fighting this would be expensive and pointless. Thursday afternoon, I was home reading when my doorbell rang. Not the camera alert from the building entrance. The real doorbell at my apartment door. I checked the camera feed on my phone. Celeste stood in the hallway alone. She looked tired, sad. Her hand lifted to ring again. I thought about leaving her there, letting the camera record another failed attempt to contact me. Another piece of evidence for Oscar's file. But this was Celeste, Judith's mother, the woman who held my hand at my wife's funeral and told me I had been a good husband, even when I knew I hadn't been good enough. I unlocked the door and opened it. "Hello, Celeste." She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "Can I come in, please?" I stepped aside. She entered and I pointed to the couch. I took the armchair across from her, the coffee table between us like a barrier in a negotiation, keeping the distance on purpose. She sat with her purse hugged in her lap, fingers twisting the leather strap. "DeWitt, please. The children, Mia and Jake, they'll lose their home right before the holidays. Leo made a mistake, yes, but families forgive. Don't you remember how much your wife valued family?" I let her talk. I listened as she went through every argument I expected. The grandchildren would suffer. Leo was sorry. Everyone makes mistakes. Family is forever. For almost 2 hours she sat there, shredding a tissue in her hands, her voice switching between begging and reasoning. I stayed in the armchair, hands on the armrests, posture upright but not stiff, listening, unmoved. Finally, she reached for her last weapon, the one I knew was coming. "Your wife would be heartbroken seeing this. She would want you to be the bigger person, to forgive." I leaned forward and spoke with quiet force. "My wife would want me to keep my dignity, Celeste. She wouldn't want me to be an ATM. That's not what love looks like." But Leo didn't make a mistake. He showed me exactly what I mean to him. A source of money, not a father. There's a difference between family and people who use you. She stood unsteady. Her face was wet. "I can't believe you're doing this." I walked her to the door. I didn't offer a hug or comfort. I opened the door and nodded once. She stepped into the hallway, and I closed the door gently behind her. The apartment fell back into silence. I returned to my chair, picked up my book, and tried to find the page I had been on before the doorbell rang. First, the words didn't make sense. My eyes moved across sentences, but my brain didn't take them in. I set the book down, looked at the closed door, and spoke to the empty apartment. Everyone confuses enabling with loving. I'm done with that confusion. The afternoon light faded outside my windows. Traffic sounds drifted up from Scottsdale Road. Someone's television played softly through the walls. A commercial for holiday sales. Cheerful voices promising perfect gifts. I thought about Celeste's face when she left. The real pain there. She believed she was helping, believed she was defending family values. But family values without mutual respect weren't values at all. They were just chains dressed up as connection. My phone sat on the side table, dark and silent. No new messages. Leo and Bernice had apparently learned that Celeste's mission had failed. Or maybe they were waiting to see if she had planted doubt that would grow into surrender. They would be waiting a long time. I picked up my book again and found my place. The words made sense now. The story moved forward. Characters made choices and faced consequences. The plot curved toward an ending. Outside, the December evening deepened into night. The city lights turned on one by one, drawing the familiar map of my chosen home. Scottsdale in winter. Cool, clear, beautiful in its desert way. I had chosen to live here after Judith died. I sold the family house in Tempe where we raised Leo, where every room held memories of her illness and my failures to be present enough, attentive enough, the husband she deserved. I started over in this apartment with clean lines and no history. Maybe that was what I was doing again now too. Starting over, choosing a life without the weight of expectations I could never meet, no matter how many checks I wrote. The book's main character was making a hard choice on the page in front of me. Walking away from something comfortable but toxic. I understood that character better now than I had this morning. Wednesday evening, December 18th. I was finishing a late meeting when my phone started buzzing again and again. I ignored it. The client needed my attention more than whatever messages were arriving. But after the third notification in 3 minutes, I looked down. 3 texts, all from coworkers. Different versions of the same thing. Did you see what's being said about you online? The meeting ended at 6. I thanked Mr. Patterson, walked him to the elevator, returned to my office, and finally checked my phone properly. For more messages had arrived. 2 from acquaintances at the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce, 1 from Martin next door, 1 from a former client, all asking the same question. I opened Facebook, which I had last checked sometime in September, and went to Bernice's profile. It was public, which made it easy to find the post. Posted at 3 o'clock that afternoon. My father-in-law is evicting us, his own son, daughter-in-law, and 2 young grandchildren with 30 days notice right before Christmas. We have nowhere to go. I never thought family could be this cruel. Please pray for us. 47 comments. 23 shares. I scrolled through the replies. Different versions of anger and sympathy. OMG! That's terrible. What kind of person does this? Those poor babies. I closed the app and sat in my office chair, looking at my phone's dark screen. This was the strategy change Oscar warned me about. When legal choices fail, people go to public opinion. Court of social media instead of court of law. I opened my photo gallery and found the screenshots I had saved back in November. The family chat messages, Leo's rejection, Bernice's insulting words about me needing to earn the right to sit at their table. I wrote individual texts to 2 coworkers I had known for 20 years, attached the screenshots, and kept the message short. This is what prompted my decision. I won't engage publicly, but you've known me 20 years. You can judge for yourself who's being unreasonable here. I sent both, closed my phone, gathered my things, and went home. I didn't answer the other messages. I didn't post anything public. I didn't reward Bernice's performance with a reply. The people who knew me would decide for themselves. The people who didn't know me could believe whatever story felt most emotional. The rest of the week passed quietly. Work, home, the usual routines. My phone eventually stopped buzzing with concerned messages as the social media storm moved on to newer drama. Sunday morning, December 22nd, I was reading in my armchair when the doorbell camera alerted me. Not my apartment door, the building entrance. I opened the app. Leo, Bernice, and Celeste stood outside on the sidewalk, not coming to the door, just standing where anyone entering or leaving the building would see them. Bernice held Mia's hand. Leo had Jake on his shoulders. I set down my book, made a cup of coffee, settled back into my chair, and checked the camera now and then. They stayed for an hour, a carefully planned family moment that just happened to take place outside my building on a Sunday morning when residents would be coming and going, when someone might mention it to me, when I might feel pressured to go down and talk. I spoke to my empty apartment. Stage a chance meeting. I've managed investment portfolios for 30 years. I know a setup when I see one. They gave up around 11:30. I watched them walk to their car. Leo's shoulders drooped. Bernice's hands moved sharply and accusingly. Celeste followed behind, looking defeated. Christmas arrived on Wednesday. I had made a reservation at the Mission, an upscale restaurant in Old Town that stayed open on the holiday. I dressed in a casual blazer and dark slacks. I drove there at 6 p.m. and handed my car to the valet with a generous holiday tip. The restaurant was half full. Couples, families, a few other people dining alone. I asked for a table near the window, ordered the prix menu, and pulled out the book I brought. I spent 2 hours there reading between courses, watching the sunset paint the McDowell Mountains in copper and purple, listening to other tables' conversations, the comfortable sound of people who belong to each other. No one bothered me. The server was professional and unobtrusive. The food was excellent. The wine matched each course perfectly. I paid the bill, wished the staff happy holidays, and drove home through empty streets. Most of Scottsdale was inside with family. The city felt peaceful, clean. Mine. Back at my apartment, I changed into comfortable clothes and sat on the couch with a documentary about the Apollo program. Something about men who left Earth, traveled to the moon, returned, changed. My phone chimed around 10 o'clock. A message notification. I picked it up, expecting a holiday greeting from a coworker. Instead, it was a photo from Bernice's number. Mia and Jake sat on a couch, both looking sad. Fake sad, the kind kids make when adults tell them to look upset for a picture, but sad anyway. The caption read, "They're asking why Grandpa doesn't love them anymore." My chest tightened. The first real pain I had felt since Thanksgiving. Not for Leo or Bernice. For those two children being used as weapons in an adult war they couldn't understand. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could type something. I could explain. I could tell them this wasn't about them, wasn't about love, was about boundaries, respect, and consequences for cruelty. But explaining to Mia and Jake meant dealing with Bernice. It meant reopening a door I had closed on purpose. It meant giving her what she wanted. Proof she could still reach me, still control me through guilt and grandchildren. I stared at the photo for a long moment, then locked my phone screen on purpose, set it face down on the coffee table, and spoke quietly to the empty room. "I'm sorry, Mia. I'm sorry, Jake. But this isn't about you." The documentary continued on the TV. Engineers solving impossible problems. Astronauts learning to walk where no human had walked before. People making hard choices without a rule book. The phone stayed face down, silent. Outside, Christmas night settled over Scottsdale. Families opened presents, ate leftovers, argued about who would load the dishwasher. Normal home rhythms in normal homes. I had chosen something different. Boundaries instead of belonging. Dignity instead of dysfunction. But choosing didn't make it painless. The documentary ended. I turned off the television and sat in the dark apartment, watching the city lights through my window. The same view I had watched the night I canceled all the payments. The same moment of realizing what I had become. Convenient, disposable, valuable only for what I provided. The phone stayed face down. The photo stayed unanswered. Tomorrow would be December 26th. 15 days until the eviction deadline. 2 weeks for Leo and Bernice to find somewhere else to live, pack their things, and move their children into a new reality. Part of me wondered if they were really looking for housing, or if they were still trying to break my resolve, still believing that eventually the right manipulation would work, the right emotional trick would make me give in. They didn't understand what they had done that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. They didn't understand that the cruelty wasn't just the rejection. It was how casual it was. The assumption that I was so far beneath them that they didn't even need to be polite about excluding me. That kind of contempt couldn't be erased with apologies or photos of grandchildren or social media posts. I picked up the phone one more time and looked at the photo again. Mia was 8. Jake was 6. Old enough to remember their grandfather. Young enough to adjust to his absence. Kids were tough. Adults pretended they weren't. Adults used kids as shields and weapons, but kids adapted. I locked the screen again, left the phone on the coffee table, and went to bed. The morning after Christmas, I sat at my dining table with coffee cooling beside my laptop. The photo of Mia and Jake was still on my phone, but I hadn't looked at it again. Manipulation was manipulation, no matter how many 8-year-olds got pulled into it. I opened the folder where I had saved the vehicle lease agreements. I pulled up both contracts, Toyota Highlander, Lexus ES. I reread the termination clauses I had highlighted back in December. The primary leaseholder could cancel with 7 days written notice. Vehicles had to be returned or would be repossessed with penalties. I wrote 2 emails, one to Toyota Financial Services and one to Lexus Financial Services, nearly identical. Formal termination of lease agreement effective immediately per contract section 12.4. I attached my ID. Attached account verification. I clicked send on the first. Clicked send on the second. The confirmations arrived within 30 seconds. I forwarded both to Oscar with a short note. Phase 2 initiated. Vehicles will be retrieved by January 3rd per contract terms. The rest of the week passed in that strange blank space between Christmas and New Year's. The office was mostly empty. I reviewed portfolios, adjusted allocations, prepared for the January rush when clients would want to talk about tax strategies. Friday morning, January 3rd, I was at my desk when my phone buzzed. Motion detected at the North Scottsdale property. I had installed security cameras there back in November when I realized I might need proof. The owner's right to monitor his investment. I opened the app and watched live video as a flatbed tow truck backed into the driveway. The front door flew open. Bernice appeared in her bathrobe, her mouth already moving, her hands waving wildly. I turned up the volume. "You can't do this. That's my car. I need it. You can't just take it." The driver climbed down from the cab, a stocky guy in coveralls with a clipboard. He walked toward her with the patience of someone who had done this many times. "Ma'am, I have authorization from the leaseholder to retrieve this vehicle. The lease was terminated. You need to remove any personal belongings now." Bernice stood in front of the Toyota, put her body between the truck and the vehicle, as if that could stop anything. "I have children. How am I supposed to take them to school?" The driver showed her the paperwork and pointed to specific lines. Even from the camera angle, I could see her face changing through emotions. Disbelief, rage, desperation. She pulled her phone from her robe pocket and started dialing. Probably Leo, probably me. It didn't matter. The driver gave her 5 minutes to remove her personal items. I watched her yank open doors and grab random things. A sweater, some toys, a reusable shopping bag. Then he winched the Highlander onto the flatbed and drove away. Bernice stood in the driveway holding her pile of belongings, watching the truck disappear down the street. Saturday, Leo's Lexus went the same way. I watched that too. Different driver, same professional patience. Leo tried standing in front of the car with his arms stretched wide, talking fast. The driver made a phone call, probably to the leasing company, maybe to the police. Leo's shoulders drooped. He stepped aside. The Lexus rolled onto another flatbed. My phone started getting texts from numbers I didn't know. Bernice must have been using other phones now that hers was blocked. I read them without replying. Different versions of panic and anger. Then I blocked each new number. The week between the car repossessions and the eviction deadline felt longer than it probably was. I went to work, came home, checked the security cameras now and then, and saw Leo and Bernice loading boxes into a U-Haul they had rented. Thursday evening, January 9th, I sat in my dark apartment with only my laptop screen lighting the room and watched the security feed. Leo and Bernice made trip after trip. Boxes, furniture, lamps, everything they had collected during 6 years of rent-free living. Their movements were robotic, exhausted. They didn't seem to speak to each other. Around 9 p.m., the U-Haul pulled away from the curb. Leo driving, Bernice in the passenger seat, both staring straight ahead through the windshield. The house sat empty under the streetlights. I closed the laptop, sat in the darkness for a while, and felt relief, not victory. This wasn't winning. It was just the end of something that couldn't keep going. Like finally selling a bad investment. You don't celebrate. You just stop losing money. Friday morning, I drove to the North Scottsdale house. I used my key to unlock the front door. The sound echoed in the empty space. I walked through each room slowly. My footsteps were too loud on the hardwood floors. The house smelled like cleaning products and abandonment. They had tried to make it look nice, probably hoping I wouldn't go after them for damages. In the hallway, I found scratches on the wall, like furniture had scraped it during the move. In the living room, a dark stain on the carpet where their couch had been. Coffee or wine, probably too deep to clean. I photographed both, not because I planned to do anything about it, just for documentation. Proof of what they left behind. My phone buzzed. A text from Oscar. Everything goes smoothly with the move out. I typed back, house inspection complete. Minor damage noted. What's the next step? His reply came quickly. Document everything, but don't pursue financial claims. It'll look petty and vindictive. You've made your point. Let them go. I read it twice. He was right. Going after them for carpet stains and wall scratches would ruin everything. It would make it look personal instead of principled. Understood. Moving forward with next steps. I took one last walk through the empty house. Looked out the back windows at the small yard they never took care of. Checked the garage where Leo's Lexus used to sit. Everything was hollow, clean, ready for whatever came next. I locked the front door behind me and stood in the driveway for a moment, keys in hand. 6 years they had lived there, never paid rent, never maintained the property, never thanked me for the gift they were given. I got in my car and drove back to my apartment. The house would stay empty for now. Oscar advised waiting a few weeks before listing it, letting things settle. But later I would sell it, close that chapter completely, and make sure Leo and Bernice understood there was no going back. The January sun was bright and cold. Traffic was light on the drive home. I passed people walking dogs, jogging, living normal Friday lives. Mine was normal too now, or it would be once I finished what I had started. I parked in my building's garage, rode the elevator up, unlocked my apartment door, and stepped into the quiet space that belonged only to me. No one expecting money, no one sending guilt texts, no one using children as weapons. Just silence, clean and simple. I made lunch, replied to some work emails, and spent the afternoon organizing tax documents for my accountant. Normal life, the life I had been paying for others while neglecting my own. Not anymore. A week after the move out, I was at my desk reviewing my monthly budget when something caught my eye. The automatic withdrawal section was almost empty. Mortgage payment canceled. Car leases terminated. Insurance premiums gone. Tuition eliminated. I opened a spreadsheet and ran the numbers. $8,550 monthly, now staying in my accounts. I updated my retirement projections and watched the compound interest calculations climb. Satisfying in a purely math way. The third week of January, my phone rang. Leo's number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Bernice's voice burst through the speaker before I could say hello. "DeWitt, please. I'm begging you. Forget everything else. Just pay for the children's school. Mia and Jake didn't do anything wrong. They need their education. We can't afford Tesseract without you." I let her finish. Her voice sped up with panic, words running together. When she finally stopped to breathe, I spoke calmly. "You told me I don't deserve to sit at your table. Why should I pay for their education?" I pressed the red button. The silence afterward felt right. That evening, my credit monitoring app sent an alert. Leo's name appeared in the notification. We had been linked years ago when I added him as an authorized user on one of my cards, a connection that still showed linked accounts. His credit score had dropped 118 points. Collections activity detected. I looked at the details without emotion, closed the app, went back to the book I was reading. Financial consequences were happening exactly as they always do. When you live beyond what you can afford and your support disappears, the numbers become unforgiving. Early February, a thick envelope arrived in my mail. The address was written in neat, childish letters. Crayon drawings covered the edges. Flowers, hearts, stick figures. I opened it by my dining table and pulled out lined paper with careful handwriting. "Dear Grandpa, please forgive Mommy and Daddy. We miss you. Love, Mia and Jake." I held it up to the light. The letters were too perfect for an 8-year-old. The spacing too careful. The words, "Forgive Mommy and Daddy," sounded like an adult. I placed it in the folder labeled documentation, not in the trash. Proof the manipulation was still happening. Proof Bernice was still using children instead of taking responsibility. I spoke quietly to the empty apartment, using 8-year-olds as weapons. The handwriting isn't even close. Did she really think I wouldn't notice? Then I said, "I'm sorry you're stuck in this, Mia, but your parents need to learn." Mid-February, I scheduled an appointment with a realtor. Patricia Morgan had good reviews and specialized in North Scottsdale. We met at her office in Old Town. She reviewed the house details on her computer. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2-car garage, prime location, well-maintained. "This is a beautiful property, Mr. Willis. Prime location, excellent condition. We should have no trouble at this price point. May I ask, will the proceeds go toward another property?" I kept my answer simple. "No. I'm simplifying my portfolio. This was an investment that didn't work out." She nodded. Understood. Investment properties sometimes didn't perform as expected. She didn't need to know the investment had been family, not real estate. I signed the listing agreement. $675,000, a little above market, but the house deserved it. Patricia said she'd have the sign posted within days. Photos on the MLS by the weekend. Before heading home, I called Oscar. "You sure about selling?" he asked. "Once it's sold, there's no undoing this." "I'm sure. They need to understand this door is permanently closed. No reconciliation. No second chances. It's over." He was quiet for a moment, then said, "All right, You've been consistent from the start. I respect that. After the call, I drove past the North Scottsdale house one last time and slowed as I approached. The for sale sign wasn't up yet, but it would be soon. Patricia promised by Monday. The house looked empty, abandoned. Even from the street, you could tell no one lived there anymore. The lawn needed mowing. The blinds were open on empty rooms. The driveway where 2 cars used to sit was bare concrete. I didn't stop. I just slowed, noticed the details, and kept driving. That evening, I sat in my apartment with the windows open. Even with February chill, city sounds drifted up. Traffic, distant voices, someone's music. Normal city life. My phone sat on the coffee table, dark and silent. No desperate calls. No guilt texts. No photos of sad grandchildren. Either Bernice had run out of tricks, or she had finally accepted that nothing would work. The math of their situation was brutal and simple. Leo made $75,000 a year, after taxes about $4,700 a month. Their rent in Mesa was $1,600. Add utilities, food, gas for Leo's commute, basic insurance, phones. $3,500 in fixed costs at least, leaving $1,200 for everything else. No private school, no luxury cars, no lifestyle they had gotten used to. And now debt collectors were calling about their credit card debt. $8,500 they couldn't pay. Their credit scores were crashing. Future loans would cost more. Future rentals would need larger deposits. The chain of consequences had its own momentum now. I wasn't pushing anything. I was just watching gravity do its job on a structure I had stopped holding up. I thought about Mia and Jake. I hoped they were strong. I hoped Mesa Elementary was treating them well. I hoped they would one day understand that their parents' choices caused this, not their grandfather's boundaries. But that was years away. For now, they were confused kids wondering why everything had changed. That part wasn't satisfying. It never would be. Kids were always the ones hurt by adult dysfunction. I had been trying to prevent that by paying for their lifestyle, but all I had done was delay what was coming while enabling their parents' irresponsibility. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stop being kind in ways that create dependence. Outside, the city continued its evening patterns. Restaurants filling up, couples walking to dinner, the normal movements of people living within their means, keeping their dignity, not using family members. I closed the windows. The apartment became quiet again. My retirement account balance was healthier than it had been in years. My stress was lower. My self-respect was back. The costs were real. Distance from a son who showed his true character. Distance from grandchildren being used like chess pieces. Judgment from people who didn't know the full story. But I had paid bigger costs before. I paid them every month for 8 years. I paid them in dignity, in self-respect, and in the slow pain of knowing I was being used. This price, loneliness, judgment, finality, was at least honest. I made dinner, watched the news, and prepared for tomorrow's client meetings. The house would sell. The last thread would be cut, and I would continue the life I had taken back. Quieter, smaller, but mine. Late February, I was reviewing quarterly client portfolios when my desk phone buzzed. Building security. Mr. Willis, your son is in the lobby again, demanding to see you. Should we call the police this time? I switched my monitor to the security camera feed. Leo paced near the elevators, waving at the guard. His face was red. His shirt was wrinkled. He looked like a man barely holding himself together. No. Just have him escorted out. Document the incident. I watched him argue for another minute before security guided him toward the door. His shoulders were hunched, defeated. I felt sorry for him, but from a distance, like watching a stranger struggle with a problem they caused themselves. That afternoon, an email arrived. Subject: "You're destroying us." I opened it and read Leo's accusations. That I was hateful, that the grandchildren were suffering, that he would tell everyone the truth about what kind of father I was. I archived it without replying. Let him tell whoever he wanted. The people who knew me would decide for themselves. March 1st, I drove to the coffee shop where Celeste asked to meet. She was already there, hands around a mug, eyes red from crying. "Please do it, for my daughter's sake. There has to be a way to fix this." I sat down, pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots folder I had kept since November, and slid the phone across the table. She read the Thanksgiving messages, Leo's rejection, Bernice's words about me needing to earn the right to sit at their table. I watched her face change from pleading to shocked understanding. 8 years, I said quietly, over 100,000 a year, and I still wasn't worth inviting to Thanksgiving. I scrolled to more evidence. Bank statements showing the payments, lease agreements in my name, the house deed. Each document laid out like a financial presentation. Celeste started crying into her hands. "I didn't know. Leo told me you just cut them off for no reason. That Bernice was trying to help manage your finances and you got angry. This," she pointed at the phone, "this is completely different. They left you out of Thanksgiving," she said, stunned. "Then told you to earn the right while you paid for everything." She wiped her eyes. "My daughter would be so ashamed of how Leo turned out. She always worried he was too dependent on you, that you were too generous." She was right. I reached across and gently touched her wrist. "I don't blame you, Celeste. You didn't know. But I won't be manipulated anymore, even by people I love. Your daughter understood dignity. She would want me to keep mine." She nodded and squeezed my hand. Something changed in that moment, not against Leo, but toward the truth. Mid-March, my phone rang. Patricia Morgan. "Mr. Willis, I have excellent news. We have an accepted offer at $670,000. All-cash buyer. 30-day close." I thanked her, ended the call, and sat in my office chair, processing that the last physical tie was being cut. When the sale closed, I netted $460,000 after mortgage payoff and fees. I met with my financial advisor and moved it into municipal bonds and dividend stocks. Conservative, stable, supporting my retirement, not someone else's lifestyle. April brought Leo a court summons. The credit card company sued for $11,200, the original debt plus interest and fees. The court ordered wage garnishment, 25 of his paycheck. I learned it from my credit monitoring app, still linked from years ago. I read the alert without emotion. The chain of consequences was moving on its own now. Now, early May, Detective Rodriguez from Scottsdale Police called. "Mr. Willis, we need to ask you some questions about a complaint filed by Bernice Willis regarding financial exploitation." I stayed calm. "I'll have my attorney contact you with all relevant documentation. This is a false claim." I forwarded everything to Oscar. Within 2 days, Rodriguez called back. "Mr. Willis, we've reviewed everything. No investigation needed. Sorry for the inconvenience." The false police report destroyed whatever sympathy was left for Leo and Bernice. Filing official complaints with obvious lies wasn't just desperate, it was harmful. People who had stayed neutral now understood who was truly wrong. Oscar called afterward. Filing a false police report was a massive mistake on their part. It created a paper trail of their dishonesty. If they try anything else, we can pursue harassment charges. "Let's just let it die," I said. "They're destroying themselves without any help from me." July arrived hot and clear. The house was sold. The vehicles were gone. The automatic payments were old history. Leo and Bernice's relationship was reportedly falling apart under money and stress. I didn't track the details anymore. I didn't need to. The mission was done. Not revenge. just consequences and boundaries. One evening, I sat on my terrace watching the sun set over the McDowell Mountains. My phone showed my investment balance. Healthy, growing, safe. My calendar showed client meetings and a dinner reservation at a restaurant I wanted to try. Normal life. Mine. Not someone else's. The satisfaction wasn't winning. It wasn't gloating. It was peace, knowing I had taken back something I gave away too easily. My dignity, my freedom, my right to basic respect. I had learned justice wasn't about punishing people. It was about refusing to take part in your own exploitation, drawing lines and keeping them even when people cried or threatened or tried to use children like weapons. The sunset painted the sky orange and purple. Beautiful, uncaring. The mountains didn't care about family drama or money consequences or revenge stories. Neither did I anymore. Not really. The story was over. All that was left was living the life I had won back. August 1st arrived with morning heat already rising. I sat at my dining table with coffee, laptop open, scanning emails. Quarterly reports, a meeting confirmation, spam about extended car warranties. Then Leo's name. Subject: I understand now. I almost deleted it without reading. Almost. But my cursor paused. I clicked. Dad, I understand now. We were wrong. I was wrong. I'm not asking for forgiveness because I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that I don't blame you anymore. You did what you had to do. I'm trying to be better for Mia and Jake. No signature. No love, Leo. Just those words. I read it twice. My cursor hovered over reply. I started typing, I appreciate, then stopped and deleted it. I started again with thank you for, then stopped again. Finally, I closed the email without replying. I saved it in a folder labeled archive, not trash. Acknowledgement received. Reply unnecessary. 10 days later, Celeste called and asked if I wanted to meet for coffee at our usual place. We had rebuilt our relationship after the March meeting. Meeting once a month now. Over lattes, she updated me. Leo's working himself to exhaustion. 2 jobs. The IT job during the day, Amazon warehouse at night. Bernice filed for divorce. Left for Texas to live with her mother. I set down my cup. How is he handling it? Barely, but he's trying. The kids visit me on weekends. He's drowning in debt, but he won't ask you for anything. He asked me to tell you he's trying. Not for forgiveness, just so you'd know. I pulled out my phone and found an old photo. Leo as a teenager smiling with his mother at his high school graduation. I showed it to Celeste. That's the son I remember. I hope he finds that person again. She nodded. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then I asked carefully, Celeste, I know Mia and Jake visit you on weekends. Would it be possible, not now but sometime, for me to see them at your place? Not as part of fixing things with Leo, just separately. She reached over and squeezed my hand. I think that would be good for everyone. Leo won't object. He knows he destroyed that relationship, and the children need good people in their lives. The next weekend, I drove to Celeste's home in Phoenix with a bag holding a board game I bought. Ticket to Ride. Age-appropriate and fun. Mia and Jake were in the living room when I walked in. They froze. That's great-grandma's friend, Celeste said gently, not forcing the grandpa label. Within an hour, we were sitting cross-legged on the floor. Some effort at 62, but worth it playing the game. I handed Mia the dice, showed Jake how to count spaces, and let the afternoon happen naturally. Halfway through, Mia looked up. Great-grandma says you used to come to all our school plays. Why did you stop? I glanced at Celeste. She nodded slightly. Life got complicated, sweetheart, but I'm glad to be here now. Jake, focused on his piece, asked, Can you come next weekend too? We'll see, but I'd like that. The game continued. Laughter, simple talk, no plan beyond being present. When I left, Mia hugged me goodbye. Jake waved from behind Celeste's leg, still shy, but warming up. I drove home feeling something I didn't expect. Not victory, not proving a point, just peace. The last evening of August, I stood on my terrace with iced tea, watching the sun drop toward the mountains. My phone showed my financial dashboard. Retirement accounts healthy, cash reserves strong, monthly budget clean and simple. 9 months since Thanksgiving. 9 months since that message telling me I hadn't earned the right to sit at their table. I thought briefly of Leo working warehouse shifts, of Mia and Jake in their smaller school. I felt neither guilt nor happiness, just acceptance of consequences and boundaries kept. I swiped to my photo gallery and found the picture from Celeste's house. Me and the kids laughing over the board game. I allowed myself a small smile. I hadn't won my family back. That wasn't the goal anymore. But I had won myself back. My dignity, my independence, my right to basic respect. The investment money sat safe in conservative funds. No parasitic payments draining my accounts. No guilt texts arriving at midnight. No sad grandkid photos designed to weaponize my love. Just my life. Clean, simple, mine. The sky shifted through shades of amber and rose. The city below started its evening change. Lights turning on, traffic patterns changing, people heading home from work or out to dinner. I spoke quietly to the empty terrace. 9 months. Feels like longer. It feels like a different life. Then, even quieter, I don't need them to be sorry. I just needed them to stop taking. And they have. Leo was learning consequences, working 2 jobs, paying debt, raising kids mostly alone. After Bernice abandoned him, the same single parenthood I faced after Judith died. Mine was through death, not choice. Maybe he would come out better. Maybe he would find that teenager in the photo, the one who still had potential before entitlement and manipulation became his normal way of living. Or maybe he wouldn't. Either way, it wasn't my responsibility anymore. I had given him advantages: education, support, a rent-free home, vehicles, tuition for his children. He turned them into expectations, then into demands, then used them as weapons when I didn't meet his standards. The sunset deepened. The mountains turned purple. A hawk circled on warm air, gliding with effortless grace. I spent 40 years building financial security. 8 of those years, I poured money into Leo and Bernice's lifestyle while they treated me with contempt. Now that bleeding had stopped, the wound was healing. The scar tissue was stronger than the skin that came before. My phone buzzed. A text from Celeste. The children asked when you're coming back next Saturday. Does it work for you? I typed back, I'll be there. I set the phone down and watched the last sliver of sun disappear behind the mountains. The sky burned bright orange, then faded to deep blue. Justice wasn't revenge. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't even about proving you were right. It was simply refusing to pay for your own disrespect. Drawing lines, keeping them, living on your own terms, even when people you love try to control you through guilt and manipulation. I had drawn those lines, kept them, taken my life back. The terrace was cooling now. The evening breeze carried the scent of desert plants and distant mesquite. Inside, my apartment waited, quiet, organized, peaceful. Tomorrow would bring client meetings, portfolio reviews, maybe lunch with a coworker, normal life, the life I had been too busy enabling others to fully live. I finished my tea, picked up my phone, and took one last look at the photo of Mia and Jake laughing over the board game. Then I turned and walked inside, closing the terrace door behind me. The sunset continued without me. Beautiful, uncaring, exactly as it should be. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts about this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.